Patagonia is the name given to the geographical region at the southern end of South America, spanning Chile and Argentina. It's a huge area, around about 1 million square kilometres, that's about 4 times the size of the UK. To its south end is Cape Horn, Tierra del Fuego, and the various channels and passages that separate the Atlantic and Pacific. On the east is a huge area of desert-like steppe, and here on the west is the bottom end of the Andes mountain range. I'm here with a group of international travellers, and we're going to be visiting 2 national parks. Here in Argentina at Los Glaciares National Park, and over the border in Chile at Torres del Paine National Park. We travelled to the village of El Chalten in the northern part of Los Glaciares National Park. Although this was mainly a hiking trip, we started by kayaking down the Rio Cañadón de la Torres. This was a comparatively calm stretch of water, away from the rapids and falls elsewhere, but the strong winds made for challenging conditions. The following day, the cloudy, damp weather gave way to sunshine for our hike to the Laguna de los Tres, a lake set in a bowl below the summit of Mount Fitzroy. The mountain is also known as Chalten, the same as the village, which means smoking mountain in the language of the indigenous nomadic people. This comes from the cloud that almost always surrounds the mountain's peak, giving the impression of it being a smoking volcano. However, we were lucky to see the peak without its shroud several times. The following day's hike to the Laguna Torre was in wetter conditions, but did give us a chance to see a large glacier in its lake. Having travelled 200 kilometres to the southern part of the national park, we visited the Perito Moreno Glacier. This 30-kilometre long river of ice is one of very few in the world that is not retreating. In fact, if it wasn't for the large headland opposite its 5-kilometre wide end, it would probably be advancing. As it is, every few years the glacier reaches the headland, dividing the lake in 2, leading to a significant difference in water levels. The pressure this creates eventually causes the toe of the glacier to break up spectacularly, removing its last few tens of metres. The Perito Moreno is very easy to reach for tourists, with the headland providing visitor centres and viewing boardwalks, and with a well-organised system of guided walks on a comparatively safe section of the southern edge of the glacier. Crossing the border into Chile, we headed to Torres del Paine National Park to hike the well-known W trek. The W is named for the shape it makes on the map, consisting of 3 out and back walks up broadly parallel valleys, connected along the bottom by a path following along a series of lakes. Torres del Paine translates as Blue Towers, and on the first day, under almost cloudless skies, we hiked up the beautiful Ascencio Valley and a steep rocky slope to see the 3 granite towers sitting behind a glacial lake. Day 2 was all about water, as we hiked along the bottom of the W, passing a number of lakes, crossing rivers, seeing waterfalls and generally getting rained on. The following morning was dry and bright for our hike up the middle arm of the W, following the French Valley to a viewpoint overlooking the Glacier Frances and surrounded by a number of high peaks. Heading back down the valley, we then continued further along the bottom of the W, passing an area damaged by fire. In recent years, a number of large fires have started as a result of carelessness by visitors. Our final day in the park was dominated by extremely strong winds as we hiked partway up the western valley of the W to view the Grey Glacier. With no roads for miles, our route out was by catamaran, giving great views of the Paine Massif.
And that wraps up my trip to beautiful Patagonia. I'm heading back now via Buenos Aires and Rio, and then to start thinking about planning for my next trip.